Right, so we're back with Darren Morris. We've discussed the start of Muay Thai into instructing, into great stable of fighters, into promoting at the highest level, which no doubt he did. Now, tell me about MMA and where all that came from.
So, I was never really an MMA fan, or cage fighting fan. I didn't watch Cage Rage or anything like that. I remember it being piloted on Channel 4 and all the rest of it. Dave O'Donnell and Ian Freeman and all the rest of it, but I was never sort of really sold on it. And then I remember watching UFC and seeing Bisping. And he was the local lad and he was doing well and all the rest of it. And at the time, when UFC was on, it wasn't every weekend or 3 times a week. It was every now and again. So people like, you'd have a UFC party, you're on someone's house because UFC, it was something special. And when we were doing Rumble at the Reebok, I worked with 2 brothers, Avi and Adam Jacobson. And they got me tickets to watch UFC at the MEM. And it was Randy Couture versus Brandon Vera. That was the main event. Bisping fought Dennis Kang. Dan Hardy fought on that show, and so did Ross Pearson. Oh no, sorry, Ross Pearson didn't. Paul Kelly fought on that show against Dennis Seaver. And I went down and I watched it, and I was absolutely in awe of the support, the crowd, how it all went.
Was it something you'd not seen or experienced before?
It was the hype around it. I'd gone down there from a promoting point of view. I met up with Paul Hennessy, and the Crowthers were there, and we were leaving, and Dan Green come out with Sweelip and Master Sked and Sweelip's wife Fumi, and I'll never forget. They were planning MSA to go into the MEM. And Paul Hennessy said to Dan, "Hey Dan, what's it like to see this venue full? Because you won't see it." Because they had a bit of rivalry. Paul used to promote massively as well. And I thought, that's quite funny. But I was a big Bisping fan, but I wasn't an MMA fan. Salford Thai shared the gym with Salford MMA, so I did the Thai and Darren Sherlock taught MMA. However, we never crossed paths. Me and Darren had a bit of a love-hate relationship. Darren used to take his MMA guys to Dave Jackson in Warrington. And I remember somebody asking the question one day, saying, "You got a lot of Thai boxing here?" And his words were, "Daz can't teach," meaning me, "Daz can't teach Thai for MMA." It was about a week or so later, I was at Craig Neal's show. And I left and the phone rings. And I answered it, don't recognise the number. Well, I'm hands-free in car. Hello? Is that Daz? Yeah. Daz, it's Mike. Mike who? Mike Bisping. I'm like, yeah, and I'm a tooth fairy. So I put the phone on. I did that about 4 times until he went, "Daz, it's Michael Bisping." And I thought, it actually sounds like him. "Yeah, are you?" Sort of thing. He was like, "Any chance I can come for a private lesson?" I thought, someone's taking them. It's not me. By the time I got off the phone, it was like, he was coming in at 10:30 next morning. I remember ringing Darren Phillips going, "What the fuck am I going to teach Michael Bisping?" I was absolutely sort of like, why is this guy coming training with me? I expected, I don't know, I expected some sort of candy camera crap going on.
So setting you up.
Yeah. 10:30 the next day, he rocks up.
And where did the connection come from, Darren? Did you ever find out?
Yeah. He basically said he'd asked a load of people. He fell out with Dave Jackson for whatever their reasons were, and he wanted a new striking coach. And he said he'd asked about 10 people. He said the only name that came up time and time again was mine. He said, loads of other people put forward. He said, but everybody kept saying me. Now, at the time, he was sponsored by Fight Shop. And the Crowthers had basically said, there's this gym, Salford Thai's got loads of champions. They fight every weekend. He came and he never left. 2 weeks later then, Adam Crowther, the other half of Fight Shop, rings me and said, is there any chance you can come and do a photo shoot with me? And we had somebody coming holding pads, but they've not turned up. I had no idea who it was. Went to Swan Lane Mill, it was Ross Pearson. And obviously Ross had quite the Ultimate Fight, so I knew who he was. We did a pad session, stroke, photo shoot. He said, any chance I can come in tonight for pads? He never left. And then it just spiraled from that point. I ended up going to the Rough House gym, which wasn't really a gym. Rough House was an amalgamation of fighters that all met in Nottingham at Liberty Gym. Dan Hardy, Nicky Shipshat, Andre Winner, Paul Daly. You know, these were all massive names in the UFC. And I'm going down there and I'm holding pads for these guys. I'm like, this is fucking crazy. Where's this come from?
It must have been amazing times.
It was just mad. It was mad because, you know, I never thought ever, when I even first started teaching Thai boxing, I'd ever have champions. You know, I just thought I'd just be that guy who just knows a little bit. To go on to training people in the UFC, and some of these guys at the time, if you were in the UFC, it was life changing. It's different than it is now. If you were in the UFC back then, it was life changing. You know, they were on big money. Dana was giving you a brown envelope in the changing room. The UFC was a different sport then as well. You know, and I'm working with these guys that are household names. And then all of a sudden you got Fighters Only, the magazine ringing up saying, can we do interviews with you and do this and do that? And I'm thinking, what? This is mental. And I've got household names like Bisping and that rocking up at the gym, training with the lads. I mean, I've got pictures of Dayton and Scare and Martin Davis all net wrestling with, you know, the myself and Ty a lot. Just one-up lads, no different.
So was there an actual day then or a moment where Mike Bisping says, Daz Morris, I want you to be my stand-up coach?
The day he rocked up that day. He just
First
said,
day.
Yeah. I told you, he said, be gentle with me, and I kind of giggled to himself. And I thought, what the hell's going to happen with this? I didn't believe I was at that calibre. I could hold pads for somebody like him. He started hitting pads and it was fucking terrible. I was like, what the fuck? And that was it. He stayed. And then he moved out to America. And I mean, he didn't need me involved then. Gone to a country that's, you know, ladled with talent. Certainly MMA, because UFC fighters in the States are like your Beckhams and your Stevie G's and people like that, you know, they're proper household celebrities.
Superstars.
Yeah, I mean, we'll look around ourselves here, there's, 10 people in this room. If you asked anybody about the UFC, they might have heard of it. And most people know of it because of Conor McGregor. But they don't know the ins and outs of it. In America, it's ridiculous. You know, certainly California, places like that. These guys are treated like megastars.
And did he take you over there, Daz?
Yeah. So I did the Ultimate Fighter, Jason Millercamp. I'd already been come home just before Christmas. He rang me up and said, can you get back out here for like New Year's Day? We were training for Damian Maia. The UFC had just signed the Fox deal. So we were going fighting in Chicago. It was a massive show. Triple header, so 3 headlining fights. And we ended up fighting Chael Sonnen, which was, like, at the time, one of the biggest fights in the middleweight division. It was a title eliminated for Anderson Silva. We got I went out there, we did that. It was just surreal, it was mental. I was living some sort of life that.
Look forward to hearing from you.
So,
Look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you.
Yeah, monkey. Nice. Yeah, I've done tigers and lions and bears and things, but
See you later.
so tell me about the day UFC London, and not the day,
Right, okay.
the build-up,
So-
and because Pete Spencer doesn't know or understand UFC at the time,
Okay.
but my pal is training the fighter on the headlining fight.
So we get the London. We knew we were going to be on the London show. We knew that. We just didn't have an opponent. And then they threw Anderson in the mix. which was a little bit of a stand-back moment because Anderson Silva is widely regarded, him and George St. Pierre, as the two biggest names, legends of mixed martial arts. And we started to train for Anderson Silva. How would you train for for a guy that's regarded notably as one of the best unorthodox strikers to ever grace the UFC octagon? We just got on with the job in hand. We knew we had a job on. And then
Special game plan, anything, or
we knew that we had to put it on him. You know, we had to take the fight to him. The whole training, the whole thing had changed by that point. So, Mike, I was the only Brit left in the camp, and I had been since 2011. Jason Perillo, the boxing coach, he took BJ Penn to 2 world titles, trained every other man and his dog. Jason Perillo, I mean, for me, in the mixed martial arts arena, is the best boxing coach ever. The guy's just got a calming demeanour, and his hand-to-eye coordination is ridiculous. I can't say enough about the guy. The guy's amazing. And there's me, Jason, a lad called Brady Fink, and we had a strength conditioning guy with us as well. And we get to London, rock up at the hotel, and we're greeted by a guy called Ant Evans. Ant Evans has just wrote Bisping's book, the one that's been released, Quitters Never Win. And we were told that the Anderson Silva fight is the most, still is to this day, the most broadcast British fight of any time. Bigger than Hatton, Bruno, because of how the UFC is that big around the world and goes out to that many people. Bisping would have been the most broadcast British fighter of all time. The fight was mental. We won round 1, Mike drops him. Round 2 was shared. Round 3, Mike's gum shield comes out. Anderson does a flying knee in round 3. Hits Mike in the eye. Mike falls. The buzzer goes. Anderson's on top of the cage. He thinks he's won. We're screaming from the cage door because we're not allowed in the octagon at this point. We're screaming from the cage door. The fight's not over. Herb Dean never waved the fight off. The klaxon when it was a 5-round fight, all main events were. By the time they let us in the cage with Mike, I think we had 18 seconds left of the minute rest. He goes back out round 4. I remember saying to Jason, he's still unconscious. He was absolutely cold on his feet. He didn't know where he was. He goes out there and puts a beating on Anderson in round 4. Round 5, he's very mixed, but we're convinced MMA is very different to UFC. To Thai boxing. So it's numerical scoring. We're convinced we're 3 rounds to 2, and we won the fight. To win a fight against Anderson Silva has got to be my all-time highlight of my career. You know, to be in the corner against somebody that I regard as a legend, and to win that at the O2, sold out in 7 minutes.
I think UK fight scene will probably show a little bit of the footage now that you sent me, the trailer of the fight, and you're there with the Union flag.
That's right.
Draping it around Michael Bisping. Mm-hmm. What was that like, mate?
It was just surreal. We just won a fight, and we're all still in the octagon. He gets on the mic, and to thank his training team, to thank us all one by one. Forget the 20,000 people in the room, but that went out. Everybody I know that watches UFC watched that fight, and we knew that the captive audience around the world. It was surreal. It was mental.
And don't get much bigger than that. It can it?
Well, I mean, we defended the world title in Manchester, which was that was mega. We trained in London for it. Mike was filming. My name's Lenny. The movie played Pretty Boy Roy Shaw. In the Lenny McLean bio doc. And then we came here and we fought and defended. He was the world champion at the time, and we defended the world title at the MEN. Again, sold out, but on American time. We started our cage walk at 4:45 a.m. They flew in from America. Mike had been back and forth with filming. I was still here, and I had to sort of jump straight onto American time. So sort of 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm flying in, and it's still like 8 o'clock at night at home for them. So I had to try and adjust very quickly. I ended up cornering Danny Roberts at the MEN, and then obviously Mike.
So the continuation of that is, how's your own little stable going, and what you're up to now with the MMA?
So Mike retired after the Kevin Gastelum fight in China. We went to Shanghai after he lost his belt to George St. Pierre. Took a fight at 2 weeks. Mike was knocked out badly against Kevin Gastelum, and he made the right decision then to call it a day. We were all to the same opinion, that now's the time. Bearing in mind, he was blind in one eye. He won a world title blind in one eye. He defended the belt blind in one eye. 6 fights with one eye. And he's now got a glass eye in his right eye. So, 6 fights with one eye.
Amazing.
It's it beggars belief, doesn't it? Most people struggle.
It does
to
when you
fight
actually.
eyes.
You need that vision from both sides. It's pretty phenomenal,
Beggars
really.
belief, but
And what's Daz Morris up to?
So since then, we filmed a documentary for Netflix recently about Mike's life. I'm privileged to be part of the cast of that with some massive A-listers. I teach out of Aspire in Liverpool now, just doing some stand-up for a handful of pro guys. I don't teach classes anymore, so I just do bits and bobs of this, that and the other. I've still got some of my old guys who were in Carlos de Grassa, beat Lyndon Knowles for the WBC World Thai Boxing Championship, jumped into MMA, went straight into professional without having anything at all, fought a guy that was a Cage Warrior Academy champion, a good grappler, George Smith, and managed to stop him in about 8 seconds left of the third round, which it was, if there was bets going that night, it was heavily stacked towards George Smith. Andy Lofthouse, still a gobshite on the Thai boxing scene, but Lofty's made his way into professional MMA. He's doing all right. I do his corner and do bits and pads with him every now and again. Jake Jenks has sort of gone the same way. Look after the likes of Dean Garnett, comes out of Liverpool. He owns the Aspire Gym, good professional fighter.
And if we go back again on the business side of it, Darren, and we talk money and we talk Muay Thai, you mentioned Carlos there, who probably in his biggest fight, Lyndon, I don't know, he may have got £1,000 if he was lucky. What type of numbers is he on? what sort of numbers did he attain when he started MMA?
Professional MMA, if you're a crown pleaser or you can do what needs to be done. Professional MMA compared to an A-class Thai boxer is about 5 times the wrong way. Don't get me wrong, there's some people fighting professional MMA and getting £500, but these people fighting professional MMA and getting 5, 10, 15 grand.
And similar again for knockout of the night and them sort of things.
Yeah. Depends on the promotion. When ACB were here, big Russian promotion, Dean Garnett fought on that. That was at MEN again. He won at MEN against an Australian unbeaten. And Dean was getting, top end money that British Thai boxing. It's not there. People say, oh yeah, but there's more disciplines, this, that and the other. Taking nothing away from the MMA guys at all. If you look at the level of striking in MMA, and look at the level of striking with a decent B-class Thai boxer, your Thai boxers leaps and bounds ahead. I remember someone going on the internet with Cody Garbrandt, the UFC world champion, and Liam arguing. I don't know about an MMA fight, but that was a straight up, let's knock shit out of one another. Cody Garbrandt in his sleep very quickly. It's there's some great strikers in MMA, some fabulous strikers, but they're strikers that have come from the Thai or the kickboxing arena and then learnt the other parts. Modern day MMA, they're learning a bit of everything. So they're not particularly clinical in any one area. Some will be a better striker, some will be a better wrestler, some will be a bit better jiu-jitsu guy. But overall, the general striking is nowhere near as clinical as your MMA. Sorry, your Muay Thai. But again, you're being hit with a 4-ounce glove. It's like being hit with a brick. You know, they're disgusting. Certainly UFC 4-ounce gloves, they're disgusting. They really are. It's like being punched with a brick.